Howdy, and welcome to a random dirt parking lot here in Austin, Texas. So this weekend I took my Cybertruck off-roading for real this time, not on friends' private property. This time we actually took it to a dedicated off-road park called Hidden Falls Adventure Park in Marble Falls, Texas. I went with 3 friends. One of them was in a Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness, a Toyota 4Runner, and myself in the Cybertruck. All 3 of us are new to off-roading, apart from one person who was our dedicated spotter, who is a seasoned off-roader to help make sure that we don't screw our cars up too much. This is not going to be an official review of how the Cybertruck off-roads. We're definitely going to show you as much of the footage that I can of the truck actually out on the trails. I'm certainly new to off-roading. I have not done a lot of it whatsoever, but it's something that I really wanted to do when I got my Cybertruck, so I figured my experience would be unique, and there may be a lot of other people out there that get their truck and want to take it off-road. For the start of the day, we ran it a stock 50 PSI on our tires, which is what is rated for the vehicle. During the second half of the day, when we hit an obstacle that will be later mentioned in this video, we air down the tire to 30 PSI. It's also worth mentioning that the software built into the car right now does not have front or rear diff lockers enabled. When pressing on it, it gave me an error message saying that they're not enabled at this time. More on diff lockers later in this video. Getting into the park was a plain old dirt road. It genuinely was no problem at all. Swapped the car into off-road mode. It handled a normal old dirt road, no problem whatsoever. The first trail that we went on was called Rocky. Once hopping onto the trail, I swapped into Overland in the all-purpose mode to see how it felt. It felt great, honestly. It was initially pretty daunting, especially as a beginner, but having a dedicated spotter hop out of the vehicle, scout out, and help us get over obstacles made the experience much better. We also went through some brushes, so we definitely had some branches and stuff rub up against the car. Stay tuned for later in this video where we actually take the car, wash it off to see if there's any scratches in the stainless and the plastic. Also, worth mentioning, the front camera is awesome on this car. It made me feel way more confident. Like I said, I am new to off-roading. My car previous to this was a Model 3, and my other car is a Miata, so I'm not really used to driving big cars, but the front camera has consistently proved itself to be one of the most awesome features in this car. Okay, big piece of feedback for Tesla. Please make it so that off-road mode does not get disabled every time you get out of the car. I had to do frequent stops on this trip to make sure that we were gonna clear something. Every time I got out of the car, it would get out of off-road mode. And then every time we got back in, I would forget that we were back in on-road mode, go into drive, realize I'm still in on-road mode, put it back into park because you can't go into off-road mode without putting the vehicle in park, putting it back into off-road mode, and then continuing. It is just something that it's just a bunch of extra steps that I don't think are necessary. Real quick, before we continue the video, I want to mention that this is our work truck for Voyage ATX. At Voyage ATX, our mission is to create more opportunities for you, electric vehicle owners, to get your vehicle serviced, maintained, or even get some accessories installed. If you are a business that is looking for a Cybertruck to look pretty at an event, film a photo shoot, or create accessories, reach out to us. We're currently focusing on getting filters replaced in your Model 3 and Model Y. If you have one of those, you know that gross sock smell. So if you are in the Austin area and you want me to come out to you wherever you are in my Cybertruck to get that filter replaced and get your car smelling good, reach out to us in the link below. After that, we continued on Park Road Trail 3 to head to Wildcat Mountain. Wildcat Mountain has a beautiful vantage point up at the top where you can get amazing views. The truck did perfectly fine on this trail up until we came to a pretty steep angle. It's worth mentioning, there was another trail right next to it that would have been absolutely no problem to get up, but my friend in the 4Runner wanted to take that incline challenge. And he killed it. Then, the Subaru also went up that incline. No problem. He definitely slid a little bit, but he made it up. And then it was the Cybertruck's turn. The Cybertruck did not make it up that incline. I want to make it clear that maybe somebody with more experience could have made it up that incline, but I do feel that the software could use some adjustment. We played around with multiple different settings in the overland mode, from rock to gravel to all purpose, but it just would not make it up the hill. I had pretty steady speed going into the truck, and once we got to about the middle of the incline, it would stop, and I noticed that the software was trying, stopping, doesn't know what to do, and then trying again. After reviewing the footage and after talking with a bunch of off-roading gurus, it's pretty clear that it probably could have made it up this incline if we had the diff lockers enabled in the software. After trying a few times, we tried airing down to 30 PSI. It got a lot further than 50 PSI, which makes a lot of sense, but it still did not make it up the hill. That software just didn't seem like it wanted to, and the lack of diff lockers really killed it here. I think this is a big miss. I really wish diff lockers shipped with Cybertruck, which is kind of a common theme with this car. Lots of unfinished features deploying to customers. I'm okay with it. I knew coming into this truck that it's not going to be perfect, that it's not going to be a feature complete car. But I still think that having diff lockers would have made this experience much better. In our last attempt to make it up that incline, disaster struck, and I broke my driver's side mud flaps for the front and the rear. I was not very happy to do that, but it's just a piece of plastic, and plastic is going to break. With 2 less mud flaps attached to the vehicle, we still had a hill to climb, so we made our way up, breaking 1 more mud flap in the rear this time. But we made it to a wonderful vantage point where I realized how exciting and fun the off-road world is. This is absolutely something I want to do in the future, and I absolutely will continue to do, maybe without the mud flaps installed next time. While we were heading down, we found a really big mud puddle, and we did what most sensible people would do while off-roading. The windshield wiper did not terrible with the mud. It's still certainly there. The mud was still certainly smearing, but I could absolutely see out of the windshield. The rest of the trip back down and out of the mountain was absolutely no problems. Like I said, for most things, the truck killed it. It felt really good. I was really confident, even as a new off-road driver. When I posted about me losing my mud flaps on Twitter, I actually got a response saying that Tesla recommends removing them before off-roading. And sure enough, it's right here in the owner's manual. Remove wheel fairing. Keep calling them mud flaps. Tesla calls them wheel fairings. Here's the thing about this though. So it mentions that there's instructions on how to do this in the do-it-yourself guide, but I can't find the information anywhere in the owner's manual. All I could find is the do-it-yourself maintenance, which essentially just says head to tesla.com to look for instructions, animations of these procedures. But if I go there and I head to the do-it-yourself guides, it's not there. It's only S, 3, X, and Y. This is a problem, Tesla. If you're gonna say that I need to remove it in the owner's manual, you gotta actually have the content out there to show me how to remove it. And maybe it is out there, but it's hard to find, and that is something that should be addressed. Unfortunately, once I arrived to get my car cleaned, I noticed that there was music in the background playing, so just to avoid any copyright strikes, I am going to do a voiceover here. This is kind of what the car looked like after our off-roading adventure. I know some people in the comments may not be happy that I am going to be cleaning it, but I do intend on taking the rest of my mud flaps off. In the bed of my truck, I have my wheel covers that I took off during off-roading because they kind of just got in the way and flew off. We also have that piece that broke off of the vehicle itself. That's from the front. That's the piece that broke off. We also have the rear mud flap here. The plastic is pretty broken, and I'm not sure if that's going to be fixable. On the other side, I did hit something, and this one is also coming undone. It's staying on there pretty securely, so I'll probably leave it, but once I get this cleaned, I'm going to take it off and see if we can try and fix that. Here you can see the missing mud flap in the front. Honestly, I think it would probably look totally fine if we just kept it off, and then in the rear, I feel like we may need a cover of some sort just to make it look more flush. So I went ahead and cleaned the rest of the car off with the pressure washer. I'm not going to do a full clean today because it is raining and I just wanted to get the mud off of there so I could get underneath the car and actually remove the mud flaps and see if I could try and fix them. Prior to cleaning, I didn't notice any big scratches in the actual stainless.
it looked completely fine as far as I could tell. There's still definitely some mud spots, so we're gonna have to do a more detailed wash to get rid of that. The plastic looked completely fine, and the rest of the truck didn't seem to have any major scratches. I do plan on getting my mud flaps replaced, and I do intend on making a video on how to properly remove them and install them to your vehicle. If you're curious about how I actually get replacements, stay tuned on my personal Twitter, which is linked below.
Overall, I had a lot of time to think about my experience off-roading, and I still consider it an absolute win. It was super fun and something I absolutely plan on doing again. I still feel that the software has some tweaks and adjustments that could be made and absolutely needs diff lockers, but this is software. Software can just be uploaded to the car, which is the biggest benefit of these cars. So a few things for me for my next time off-roading. Number one, remove all of the mud flaps. And number two, take the hubcaps off. I noticed that when we aired down the tires, they just kind of flew off on the trail. So I just ended up leaving them in the bed. Lastly, I think next time I want to bring my own air down tool. I had a very nice person let me use theirs on the trail. And I also want to try and bring an air compressor that I can hook up to the truck to try and get to 50 PSI a little easier. I'm not sure how feasible that is because 50 PSI is a lot, but it would have made my experience a little bit easier. The last thing I want to mention is the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness that was with us. That was the driver's first time off-roading, and consistently we were like, I don't know if we're gonna make it up that. I don't know if we have enough clearance, but that thing took everything that we threw at it. There were no obstacles that it couldn't take. That's really impressive. To be clear, a Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness is not the same thing as a Cybertruck, and it shouldn't be compared with each other, but it's good proof that you don't need to spend $80,000+ to go out on the trails and go have some fun. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. That was a really fun experience. And like I said, I absolutely plan on doing more off-roading stuff in the future. So please subscribe for more content. I am planning on doing a camping trip. I want to go completely off the grid with this truck to see exactly what it can do. So if that's something you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see y'all in the next video.